What's up, everybody? This goes out to all my fellow gardening enthusiasts, in particular beginners like me. Um, as you can see by these dark gray clouds, we have not had a lot of sunshine in my area recently. In fact, this whole last week has been not only filled with gray clouds, but also, the rain that you'd expect to come with that. So, it's been a challenge. But worst of all has been the unseasonably cold temperatures for this time of year. And it's been a real bummer. Now that we're knee deep in September, one would expect that the temperature would start cooling down, but we went from 83 degrees to 43 degrees literally overnight. And then it never really climbed out of that gully. And so it's been persisting. And for those who use the metric system, that's basically going from 28 degrees Celsius all the way down to 7 degrees. And even in my room, you can see here, has been on the cool side. And so I've had to wear socks, excuse me, since it's a bit too early to turn on the heat. All that persistent cold air has lowered the indoor temps to below 70 degrees. That's how cold it's gotten. So when I take the dog for a walk, I've had to wear my hoodie and gloves. And that's worried me because I'm very worried about my Roma tomatoes. For two reasons, and that's, one, ideally the temperature should be between 65 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit for optimum growth. And, no colder than 50 degrees at night, ideally. But it's been more like late October weather in my area, and that's just made everything really troublesome. And so yeah, two. It's been over 120 days since these puppies sprouted, and I have yet to harvest any vine ripened tomatoes, and that's been really frustrating for me. And I feel like there could be many reasons for that. Chief among them, the fact that I used seeds from store-bought tomatoes rather than nursery plants or a package of certified seeds. But this summer in general has also been unseasonably cool and wet. So who knows, given all the extraneous factors that could play a role, there's no way to really know like why it's taken over 120 days. They're growing. They're growing. They look right. All the developmental stages up to this point look appropriate to me. This is the first time I've done this, but yeah, since the weather hasn't been cooperating with me, I had to take some measures, and I took the liberty of creating a makeshift covering to protect them somewhat for as long as I can, because ideally, I'd like to wait as long as I can for as many tomatoes to vine ripen as is possible, because supposedly that's you get the best flavor, but if it's like refrigerator conditions outdoors where they are, that's not good for them. That's gonna ruin the flavor anyway. But yeah. So on the other hand, I have to be realistic about this, and also I'm just sick of waiting for something I could have had at any point during the summer had I just gone back to the supermarket and bought some tomatoes. So, yeah, I mean, another thing is I just decided to bite the bullet. And so what I did was remove all the largest tomatoes on that note. I just had to, what could I do? What could I do? I just removed all the largest tomatoes, the ones that were right on the cusp of vine ripening. They looked, as appropriate to harvest as possible. And I placed them in a cardboard box to expedite the ripening. And for those that don't know, this apple here is in here because apples, like tomatoes, contain a chemical called ethylene, and it's pretty much in any fruit. It's the plant's natural ripening hormone. So I could have also put a banana in there. Actually, the banana, according to the internet, works better because it ripens faster and it emits a lot more ethylene into an enclosed area like a box such as this. But I didn't have one, and usually I eat bananas all the time, but because I have all these apples, and I have all these apples because the neighbor here has an apple tree, two of them in fact, and they've been generous enough to let me eat as many as I want because I have two apple trees, and there's so many they just fall off on the ground and rot. So they really don't mind, and I've just been eating several apples a day every day, and so I've got tons of these things. That's why I use the apple. But yeah, that's aside from the fact. As you can see here, yeah, they're finally ripening. I mean, we've got some redness here. Finally, finally, thankfully too, because I really want to eat some tomatoes. And yeah, so the fruit thing isn't strictly necessary. I want to just actually come back to that a second. It's not strictly necessary to add a piece of fruit to speed up the process. The tomatoes will eventually turn red on their own. That's not something you need to mess with. They produce their own ethylene because a tomato is actually a type of fruit. Everyone's heard this. But the faster, the better has been my mentality because, as I've said, I've been waiting over 100 days. I've been waiting over 100 days, and I just want to eat some tomatoes already. I want to make some tomato basil sauce. I want to make some fresh salsa. I want to make Mexican rice. I want to make focaccia bread. I want to, a dozen other things that I've been meaning to do that I thought I would be doing since, maybe July, late July or something. But no, I'm still here waiting to eat the very first one on September 10th as of the recording of this video. And I suppose that's primarily due to the weather. That's what I'm attributing it to. I mean, I really don't know. There's, like, as I said, there's so many factors, but yeah, this is where I am right now with this. This may or may not be my final tomato update, actually, as a warming trend is finally coming this week, so I don't know if I might get it just a little more time. And the warming trend, I imagine, is probably due to Hurricane Irma, which, I hope Florida survives. But I didn't want to leave anything to chance so late in the season, so that's why I've actually got several batches of green tomatoes ripening now in my cupboard. And they look beautiful, at least. I mean, if you can, however much of this you can see, yeah, they're beautifully shaped. Everything looks fine as far as I can tell. I just thought I'd be filled up on vine-ripened Roma tomatoes by now. That's just a bummer. And so it's, I mentioned in previous videos that it's been a learning experience. And yeah, it's been a learning experience, that's for sure. It's been an enriching one, I would say. I can tell you that. It really makes me appreciate what it takes to produce the food that sustains our modern industrial world. For me, it really put into perspective how society teeters on the brink of collapse just because of a cool, rainy summer. You don't really think about this, but any little thing can throw off. I mean, millions of lives are actually contingent upon the weather. So you think about that, and you intellectualize it, and you think, yeah, I really appreciate that. But when you start growing something, man, you really, really appreciate that.